I didn't introduce myself actually. I am a postdoctoral researcher at the University of the Aegean. I'm a transport planner, and I have worked on transport policy and governance mainly for years. So this is the first time I'm working on anything aviation related, but my questions coming into this are related to my background. So this is part of the Pegasus project, and we're doing a use case on seaplanes in Greece, and we linked the project to some policy questions we had anyway on the issue of seaplanes in the country. So our questions were, could seaplanes work in Greece? What prevents their full-scale deployment? Some answers on this we've already got. What is the role of the state, and what is the role of the private sector? I'm going to say a little bit about the project because there's a banner there, but no one has really talked about this today. So the full title of the project is Digital Competitive Next Generation Aviation Technologies for Sustainable Business Models, Products and Services, which means we are developing a series of new technologies or expanding and evolving existing technologies that relate to UAMs, seaplanes, and UAM vehicles, seaplanes, and drones. And we're bringing all of these technologies together through a platform that assesses their feasibility and effectiveness in different contexts. We are also developing business models for drones, urban air mobility use cases, and seaplanes. We're third partners, 8 countries, 3 pilot applications, Greece, France, Italy. Greece is seaplanes, as you already know. Okay, so back to the research we've done. Island connectivity in Greece is a long-standing issue. It has evolved over the years. Things have become better or worse in some cases, but there are 2 main challenges. The islands still remain fairly isolated in the winter. Some of them do not have daily connections to other places, especially the smaller islands. And those same places are faced with increased demand for travel and a lot of pressure during the tourist season in the summer. Currently, connections are served by ferries and planes. And of course, both ferries and planes are notoriously difficult to decarbonize. Seaplanes have been discussed as a possible solution in Greece for years. They operated briefly, and the benefits, you've already been sold, I guess, on the benefits, so I'm not going to discuss them extensively, but they do offer some flexibility and the possibility for new connections and flexible routes. But we understood, like Konstantin said, that we don't know much about seaplanes, and we decided to do a review of literature, a review of the legal framework in Greece, speak to operators from across the world and in Greece, and analyze that data to see what is happening in the world and what could happen in Greece. So what is happening in the world? There are limited applications of seaplanes across the world. They're mainly focused on tourist areas, such as the Maldives, which is the biggest market in the world, or in inaccessible areas where they're successful because there's no transport alternatives, such as the north of Canada. There are lots of lakes, maybe rivers as well, so they're using that instead of the non-existent road or rail infrastructure. So the most popular applications are chartered services, hotel transfers, and sightseeing trips, all focused around tourism. And there are very few scheduled routes which match the other category I mentioned, inaccessible areas. Some operational characteristics. If there's a mistake here, don't say anything. Seaplanes have limited capacity, around 10 to 20 people, depending on the model and the type of operation. The ideal flight duration is under 30 minutes. The ideal flight distance is about 150 kilometers. Great. It's a relatively slow plane compared to what we're used to with the conventional jet engines, and it has very high fuel use. Okay. Seaplanes are expensive to maintain, and they need frequent cleaning because they come into contact with seawater. And all of this means there's a high cost per seat. So this means that they're economically efficient under certain circumstances. when the routes are very well planned and they carry out the shortest possible distance, when there's no alternative, and when they offer this je ne sais quoi in places where they are sold for what they are as a service in themselves. So for example, in the Maldives, you can see the atolls from above, great experience. And also they are very often linked to this luxury element, exactly because they are expensive and they have a limited capacity. These characteristics of the market also shape how the operations are done. So you need to have a very well designed and linked water airport network. Konstantin explained that. You cannot have just your landing locations need to be close to each other to optimize the flight time and distance. Also, there's not much expertise in the world, both in terms of pilots, engineers, co-pilots, but also policymakers. And seaplane operations, exactly because of that, are usually a one-man van kind of thing. What's it called? Like a man with a van. A man with a seaplane. So we did a review, and most businesses were just one person with a seaplane doing sightseeing trips. There are, from what I understand, only two very big operators in the world, one in Canada, the US, and one in the Maldives. So, coming to Greece. Now I'm going to not look at my slides. What's happening in Greece is that there are players who want to introduce seaplanes in the market, selling them very well, and a government that has slowly introduced a regulatory framework but has done not much else to steer what kind of operation we want to have for seaplanes in the country. There's lots of discussion about seaplanes being introduced as an additional service for local populations, but from what we understand, exactly because seaplanes are very expensive, when they operate on scheduled routes, they need to be subsidized. Let me see. But of course, this tension between catering for really wealthy tourists and catering for local populations exists in other places as well, and could be an issue in Greece. So, now I got a little bit lost. So what we see is we see the private sector and the public sector operating with a degree of independence and not really coming together to see what kind of operations we could have and if what each side is saying is feasible. So us, as academics and policymakers, are coming in to ask this question. So our recommendations are that, and now I'm going to look at the slides. We need to better understand the market conditions, the market potential for seaplanes in Greece, and their client base. There is a chance that seaplanes are introduced in the country, but serve only a very, very small part of the population who can pay for them and potentially doesn't even live here. We need better collaboration between public and private actors, mutually supportive and reciprocal relationships, so that when the private sector invests in the country, there is some value captured for the local population, but also they get something back. Our understanding is that we need more interest from investors, but we also need strategic planning that examines the role of seaplanes as part of the wider transport system in the country, and more detailed understanding of which needs they're going to serve. Now, I'm going to go back to my notes very quickly. And I wanted to say that when it comes to public acceptance, maybe people don't need to be educated or accept, but they need to participate, co-design, co-decide, because they don't simply have a say, they have a very legitimate stake at what is happening in their backyard. And we need, on the side of the public sector, coordinated planning and very serious consideration of multiple policy issues that are running and are the responsibility of governments at the same time. The role of the policymaker is a notoriously thankless one, but that's what happens. We need to consider the capacity of new destinations that don't have tourism to take this tourism. There are already pressures on the Greek islands on water, electricity, accommodation, on islands that already have depleting resources because of the climate emergency. We need to consider long-term policy objectives and challenges such as equity within the country and decarbonization. And we also need to consider the equity aspects of any kind of innovation we bring in the transport sector to understand who benefits from something, even if it is presented as something very shiny. I'm done.
So you're focusing on the literature review and the readings the legislation about seaplanes. Are you going also in your project to propose a new design of the seaplanes in order to accommodate more people? Or there's opportunity to give to financial new projects about the design of new seaplanes?
Yes, there is work in the project on the business models for seaplanes. So we're working on a general business model for any kind of operation, but one that's tailored to the Greek market that takes into account these different aspects and objectives for the operations.
Yeah, but in terms of the design of the seaplanes, the object.
The aircraft itself, no. We are developing technologies that support the operations, such as the maintenance, the repairs, and the scheduling.